Welcome back to the channel, your home of the best crypto and economic market updates. Let's take a look at the huge historic Bitcoin buy signals and of course the death of cryptocurrencies. Take a holistic overall picture of the markets and of course make sure that you smash up the like and subscribe to the channel. Smash it up to a new all-time high. We're getting very close to 275,000 subscribers on the channel, so appreciate your support during these somewhat crazy, dead and uncertain times in the market, but in my opinion, probably some of the best times in the market. And I'll show you why in today's video. Say a quick thanks to today's video sponsor as well, Bybit, link in the top of the video description. Sign up bonuses up to $4,450 when you use those links down there. And there's plenty of other exchange bonuses as well. There you got SwiftX for the Aussies and BitGet down there as well. So let's move across to what's going on in the market at the moment. Stocks slide on Wall Street as inflation worries persist. 85% of the stocks are down, so this is the benchmark for the S&P. That's why we're seeing the prices of the S&P come down. We can see that overnight, down 2%. It got rejected at our GAN 50% level, so no surprises there for regular viewers that are understanding this GAN tool. So we're looking at highs and lows, getting midpoints, and that gives us an idea of where we could expect the market to get rejected at, which is really helpful if we're entering positions, especially for trading. And then we look for profit-taking levels. So it can tell us in advance, this might be an area that will see some resistance, and it could be a good idea to take some profits. Or in the flip, it might be a good area to enter other positions, whether it's long or short. So it's just an idea using that tool. And that gives us an idea of what's happening in advance from when this information comes out. And the other historic stuff that we're seeing in the markets, you know, these big headlines about history and a lot of the extreme fear in the market is US consumer confidence slipped to its lowest level in 16 months. Now, of course, this came in yesterday, but the main point here is that we just want to see the numbers. The conference board said Tuesday that consumer confidence index slipped to 98.7 in June, down from 103.2. Essentially, it's gone down. Second straight monthly decline, the lowest levels. So the main thing is we're hearing all the time is everything's bad, everything's bad, everything's bad. It's got to get worse. Now, we looked at yesterday some of the biggest Google search trend words for Bitcoin being Bitcoin bottom. We're seeing that for recession as well. Just looking at 5 years here, because we have had some big recession talk in the past, look at the search trend. The previous weeks, so the last two weeks ago, we had the highest search volume for the word recession. Now, we've come off that quite a lot if we're looking at a 5-year chart, which I'll leave on just for now. The second previous highest time for that, or the highest time in the last 5 years, was at the COVID crash low. So looking at historic words here, stuff that the masses are looking at, they believe we're going into a recession. They believe the worst is still to come. And I vastly disagree with the worst is still to come. We've talked about this. The feeling will possibly be the worst to come. But in terms of the losses, it doesn't take a genius to open up a chart and see that the current losses are the worst that we have had. So anything that happens from this point down is not that big of a deal in terms of a percentage drop. I know it's going to hurt a lot of people. The portfolios are going to be down from, if you bought Bitcoin at 21,000 and maybe we go to worst case 11 or 12,000, it's still going to be a 40% drop. And that's going to hurt a lot of people. But from the tops where the majority of retail bought in between that $50,000 and $70,000, just choosing any point up here, they're down now about 70%. So if that drops that a little bit further, that's going to be down 80%. And that historically is a pretty reasonable area for Bitcoin. Now we've looked at, for a low on Bitcoin, we've looked at in the past that I believe, my opinion, of course, here on the channel, is that we're in a bottom range. Now, whether that low comes in at 12,000, 14,000, 14.5 here, 16,000, or if 17,500 on Bitcoin is the low, personally, it doesn't really matter. Think of it in the flip. The flip is the top end, selling out for profits. If you sold out at 46,000, sure, the absolute peak was 69, and you could have said, oh, I should have just sold at 69. You have no way of knowing, because at the time, everyone was saying it's going to 100, it's going to 250. The biggest and brightest minds in technology, your Kathy Wood of ARK Invests, And your other big names that have billions of dollars are talking about $250,000, $500,000 Bitcoin. Now, the same thing is happening to the downside, where we have talks from some of the most bearish people of saying $10,000, $3,000, $8,000 Bitcoin. So I think the same thing is happening to the flip side again. So history shows us that it doesn't matter if you're selling somewhere near the top, you're probably going to be better off in the longer term. This is for Bitcoin, of course, because we know overall some of the other markets do trend up, like the traditional markets trend up over time. So you just have to hold in there and wait. So either option, to me, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about what suits you and your portfolio. Did you want to sell the top, or did you want to buy it 50 grand and then hold for the next 5 or 10 years? No one's right or wrong. It's just whatever suits you. Me personally, I prefer to sell these because of the drawdowns being so great. The drawdown just means from the high to the low in the cycle. And the previous cycle was an 84% drop, high to low. And I don't really want to be stuck in those for my cryptocurrencies, my altcoin positions. That's the first piece of historic info that we're looking at. Just these Google search trends, recession at near all-time highs for this last 5 years. If we go back to 2004 to present, I'd still say COVID is probably one of the highest. It was pretty much the highest level we had for recession. And if we take a big enough look, then the market is still going up. But going down to a shorter time frame, we can see that we're now trending down from the word recession. So these are some of the highest levels in history, even more so than the GFC as well. So in terms of the lows, we're probably getting somewhere very, very close to it. Now, the other thing I want to look at for the historicness of these buy signals for Bitcoin is looking at this here, looking at glass nodes and some of the data in terms of the moving average, where the price is on Bitcoin, and the price actually falling below the 0.5 of the Mayer multiple. It's an exceedingly rare occasion that hasn't happened since 2015. Now, being honest with you here, I don't use the Mayer multiple. I use my own analysis. I use Gann analysis to give me what, give me my signals of what I want to do with my trading and investing. But you can see that a lot of these other indicators and signals are all pointing to a similar thing. These are at historic low levels, some of the lowest that they've seen in their history, if not, moving towards that lowest period. So take a look at Bitcoin, throw on the 200 weekly moving average, and we're all familiar with that now. We should be familiar with it now that we are trading below that at the moment. And so eventually we'll probably get a pop above the 200 week moving average, and then we start to get the retail FOMOing back into the market. So from where we currently are, this is the 200 week moving average. People start to FOMO back in because it's making headlines again that the market is moving up. And this basically suckers in the people who think they've missed out on the bottom. What markets do is they tend to crush hopes and dreams at both ends of the spectrum. It's not me, it's the markets. I don't control the billions or the trillions of dollars. This is just what they do. We know that. We've experienced it from the highs. We will experience it at the lows. So we got 17.5K as the low at the moment. I think we'll probably get some sucker rallies back in here. Whether we come back and test this, the main point is over the next probably half of 2022, this 6 months leading into the end of the year, we probably have to test some of these levels. There's going to be the 24, 25K, probably around this level up here, about that 28K as well. So at some point, it'll come back up, sucker people in, and then probably crush those hopes and dreams once again. Have to see where the 200 week moving average ends up. Does it start to trend down a little bit before it heads up again? I think that's going to be important as well moving forward. But historically speaking, Bitcoin doesn't tend to spend too much time underneath the 200 week moving average. Sometimes it even just touches the 200 week moving average before it starts to make its move back higher again. So just taking a look at more data here, going back to the 2015 bear market, you can see that we spent in that first peak underneath the 200 week moving average. This is on a daily. There was only 2 days under it, and then a third day touched it. Then the market went sideways for about 8 to 10 months, which I'm expecting this time will probably trend sideways. And by sideways, I mean you could run up 50 or 100% from those lows. You can see the low is about $180. It ran up to $320, $315. So there's quite a big move within that bottom range of the accumulation. Next, Bitcoin dumped, and it did spend a few weeks underneath the 200 week moving average, and poked ahead above and then came back underneath it before it took off from that point. So it's not like it can't do that sort of move again and spend some time underneath the 200-week moving average before it starts moving away. But historically speaking, we don't often get too many days or weeks underneath this level. So the fact that we've been underneath the 200-week moving average for some time is something that we haven't seen in history for Bitcoin. And generally speaking, it is a buy signal if you can be patient over the next 6 to 12 months before the market starts to head up and move towards those new highs, which, of course, in my opinion, I think that's what's going to happen for Bitcoin. Now, the peak areas, people were not saying to sell at the tops. A lot of people saying this is going to go further, just hold it, don't worry. Definitely not my opinion. And I know regular viewers, you guys have seen that. I was very much saying, do not hold altcoins. Altcoins are going to get wrecked. And to the downside, I think altcoins can still get wrecked further. There is no guarantees. There is no one altcoin that will have this hope and dream that should make it through to the next cycle. And so with that in mind, I'd rather take the precautionary measures and not lose too much money and not buy into altcoins until we see some sort of bottom pattern forming for Bitcoin. Bitcoin then starts to take off to show that there's some strength. It signals to the market there might be some time left in this. We might have more smart money coming into the play, and then those altcoins start to move. Now, with that, I am not going to buy the lows, but I will get the breakouts and I will make profits that I can then put into other assets. Bitcoin, real estate, maybe stock portfolios. But my primary two are Bitcoin and real estate. That's what I want to put the profits into. So with that in mind, that's the way I'm looking at this market right now. The recession is looking like it may or may not come. It doesn't really matter because the worst of the drops in the markets, in the traditional markets, in Bitcoin has probably already happened. I can't see these markets going down much further in terms of a percentage from what they have already done. So in the case of the S&P, it's down 25%. If it was to do 50% from that high, that would take it to a price of 23 or 2,400 points. That is almost all the way back to the previous major crash, which was the COVID low. Personally, I don't see that happening to the market just yet. I think we still have another section of this bull market to go. This is looking very healthy in a macro sense for a pullback. And I'm very excited throughout 2022 as a buying opportunity. As for the market sentiment for Bitcoin, we're seeing it rise up a little bit today. These might not be in our buying ranges for much longer. We're at 13 on the fear and greed index, giving us an extreme fear reading. As for the price, yesterday it went down. So we had an extreme fear of 10, but the index went up. You can see this little bounce right here from 10 to 13. The price of Bitcoin went down. Normally when we see the price of Bitcoin go down, the fear remains the same or gets a little bit lower. Now we're seeing a divergence between the index of what people are actually feeling and the price of Bitcoin. So in the short term, we'll have to see whether we can at least start to climb our way out of this with the fear lessening, going towards greed rather than more extreme fear, and whether this gives us a support level at 19,800 for BTC. Try to test some of these high levels, sucker in some more buyers, and then this is the long-term buyers, and then dump on them again. This is over the course of probably, I think, the next few weeks to few months while this market tries to figure out whether 17 is the low or we go lower. As for cryptos, altcoins, Sol has had another day down. It's getting close to one of the areas that I liked as a support level. It was about $33 because you can see that's on our swing here. So for Solana, it has had several more days down than what we've seen in the past. It got rejected at that 50% level, $42. And so for the move forward, we need to see some support come in as always, and then another entry setup position to go long again into that 50% to take out that 50 and start to head higher. Or if we see a rejection at the 50 for another shorting opportunity. So that's for Solana. For ADA, same sort of thing. It's getting very close to the next lows again here at around 45 cents. It's had a few more days down than what it has in the past. So this is looking more like it's wanting to trend towards the downside. It's pretty obvious there. The main thing to look at is what happens from this bounce. Do we get rejected again at around 50, 52 cents and start to trend lower, giving us a lower top and then potentially a lower bottom over this way? Or are we going to start to move up, put in a higher low to then break out? That's going to be the key indicators here for a lot of the cryptos, whether they can continue on, whether Bitcoin signals that it's ready to go up again, like we just looked at with the sentiment. It is lessening, so we're not as fearful. We're a few points less fearful, and Bitcoin trying to move up, which then gives us the opportunity for some of these altcoins to just go on that little bit more of a run, maybe have a little bit more profits in those trades, and then see how the market responds, or they get rejected again at some of these high prices, which is still significantly further away at 40 or 50% in some cases. Smash up the likes, subscribe to the channel. 30% of you not subscribed yet, so make sure you do that down below. And of course, check out the links to Bybit. Trading is on at the moment, World Series of Trading. Join us over there. Use the links in the description to join us at Crypto Hobos and get your $4,450 of sign-up bonuses down below. I'll see you guys at the next video. Till then, peace out.